Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom.
Developer interviews.
Hello, my name is Neil Ticktin. I'm the editor-in-chief and publisher of MacTech magazine. We're here doing the TUAW MacTech developer interviews, talking about OS X Mavericks and iOS 7, what it means to the developers, some of their favorite features, and of course, what it ultimately means for you. Sitting here with me now is Riccardo Ettore from Ettore Software. Known you for years and years now. It's been a long time. And thank you for coming and joining us in here.
Okay.
Let's start off with, we're hearing more from Apple about what the future OSs are going to look like. iOS 7, and of course OS X Mavericks. And we're going to hear more as time goes on. What either from a personal level or from, we'll talk about the developer stuff in a moment here, but from a personal level, what are your favorite features that you saw in either OS X or in iOS 7 or that you're starting to hear from Apple about?
Well, I'll tell you the ones that stuck in my mind, so in a way that,
Sure.
that kind of answers the question. I mean, I think the efforts they're making to expand battery life on portables, Mac Airs, even without having to buy new hardware, that's laudable. That's always, you can never have enough battery time. I can't tell you whether that does it already, because I've just had a chance to download Mavericks, but I haven't installed it yet on my hardware. In terms of iOS 7, the look is definitely different. Controversially, I must say, the very first impression from the first lock screen they showed, it was a bit Galaxy-like. I hate to say this, but I hope they're not doing a Samsung on Samsung. If I may say that.
Exactly.
Having said that, I've installed that this morning on my test iPhone, so that went very smoothly, and it does actually feel like a totally new machine. One of my favorite games is Letterpress, and even that sort of looks different in the sense that the characters now look bigger inside the squares, which is pleasant. Really. I was expecting perhaps too much. When Tim Cook is quoted as saying, "We're going to open up our APIs, you start bringing all sorts of things." Specifically in the area that I've been dealing with for about a quarter of a century, which is expansion inside other apps. It wouldn't appear that they've done anything there. Obviously it's early to say before you explore all the 1,500 new APIs. But on the other hand, the multitasking for all apps, as I understood it to be, that could potentially open up interesting possibilities.
Exactly.
In particular, I've been thinking of doing something that I would not say it yet. So that
And we'll come back to that in a second here, but let's why don't we let's take a moment and let's tell people what you're doing. You have a couple of apps, and a lot of developers are iOS only. You're not. You're doing both Mac apps and iOS. So tell us what Ettore is doing.
Well, I started back in the 80s, which is a long time ago. This shows my age, I think. Is it color or black and white?
And I've known you during most of that time, right? It's a color of black and white.
But my mainstay is called Type It For Me, and it's what I like to call it the original text expander for macOS actually, starting back with System 6 or 7 back in the 80s. And so I'm pretty used to actually having to keep up with new versions of the OS. If you're thinking nearly 24 years now, 25 next year since the original release, there's always something to tweak. But I've managed to, if you like, keep it up and survive all this time. Usually something breaks, but it's fixable. On the iOS, I released in 2009, and in fact, you guys awarded me a best of show. I don't know if you remember. I released the most that you could do on iOS, given the sandboxing and the fact that you cannot operate across applications. I released Type It For Me. I called it Tap It For Me at the time. I've then released a new version 2.0 last year, or 11, I think, called Type It For Me Touch, which makes it easier for people to make the connections between the two. And interestingly, last year I updated Type It For Me to actually support iCloud. And so you can have your abbreviations across the iCloud on both devices.
Which is really useful.
Which is useful, I've had recently...
It's also useful across multiple machines too.
It is,
If you have multiple Macs, I have multiple Macs in there, and it's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that worried me a bit is that a few weeks ago I started getting one and then another, and maybe 4 or 5, which is not huge, because I have more than those users actually. Thank God. People saying my abbreviations have disappeared from the iCloud.
Nice.
And friend of mine who has a completely different application on iOS that uses iCloud also said he got a few reports. Now, coupling that with something Apple said yesterday, which is please bear with us, developers, we're going to get it right, we're going to stop adding features and actually try to make it more reliable, is giving me hope that maybe it's not something that was wrong in my code, but they will make it
something generic with iCloud as well. Yeah.
So that's something I'm looking forward to, and I will go to one of the labs to discuss with engineers.
So as you see some of these new features, coming forward with iOS 7 and with Mavericks and whatnot, what do you see as what are you most excited about, or what are you looking to do with your products, with Type It For Me in particular, that moving forward?
Well, Type It For Me, unless, as I say, surprise, I find that they've actually added some APIs to do things across the app, so I don't think we'll be directly impacted other than having to recompile it and make it look right in the new environment.
Exactly.
One thing that I would have liked was an API, for example, to allow me to synchronize your apps from Type It For Me with the built-in way to expand that Apple introduced a couple of systems ago. I don't know if you've ever played with it. That would be useful, but then again, it could also come with its own problems.
Exactly.
So I can understand if they didn't do it. And as I say, I have one app that would really take full advantage of being able to actually run in the background as opposed to being suspended. And as soon as I can actually try it out, I'll see if that bears any.
If the new methodology for multitasking has any help.
Exactly. I want to see if there are any strings attached. It wasn't too clear from the brief presentation.
It's still too early in their information flow to really understand what.
Yeah, I mean the statement was background multitasking for all apps.
Right.
But then again,
Right. What does background multitasking actually mean?
Exactly. Sometimes they define it, just to.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about what's going on, or is that pretty well covered?
No, I think it's, for me it's nice to, this is, I think my first WWC was in 1988. At least I have a t-shirt that says that. So it kind of doesn't tally with the fact they say this is number 24.
Yeah.
So it's off by one, but then again, lots of things in programs are off by one.
Yeah,
it's one of the most well-known bugs.
Exactly. It's always those border cases that's going on.
Exactly. So I hope to be doing this into my old age.
Yeah. Well, Riccardo, it's been many, many years that I've known you. It's been great to see Type It For Me, continue on all of these years and stuff. And and as a developer, it's always nice as a user, it's always nice to see a developer that is responsive to some of the concepts and ideas and problems and whatnot that are there. So I've appreciated that. So thank you for for the probably a couple decades that I've been using Type It For Me at this point. I appreciate it. So anyway, good seeing you.
Very good to see you too.
My name is Neil Ticktin. These are the TUAW MacTech developer interviews talking about the new OS releases that are going to be coming this way this year, how that impacts developers, and how that impacts you. Thanks for watching.